5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Nyakua mashamba,
nyakua.
Wafanyikazi, komboa chakula,
komboa.
Wafanyikazi, pigania uhuru,
pigania.
That are bad coups against their people. But there are also coups that are pro-people. So we fully support the military coups that has happened in the Sahel region and their anti-imperialist character. In fact, we see a very comparative analysis between what is going in the Sahel region as the weakest link of imperialism in the African continent and our concept of the National Democratic Revolution. We cannot build socialism without actually accelerating the development of our productive forces. Imperialism is the one that stagnates the development of the productive forces in this country and also in the Sahel region. So for the project that is taking place, the nationalist project is taking place in the Sahel region, all communist states imperialism in the African continent. And it also exposes the perversion of the United States democracy and their moral compass. This is important for us. So we support the alliance of the Sahel state. And for us, we hope that they will set a good examples and also encourage the communist and progressive forces within the Sahel region to catch up, not to tail. Because at the very end of it, we will not stop at a national democratic revolution. The only clearest path to dignity for humankind is socialism. So once we build the productive forces, then we must move steadfastly to actually start the people who love these people. But what I want to say is that Nyerere was also a socialist. What about Agustino Neto? What about Thomas Sankara? What about Patrice Lumumba? So we want to reclaim the legacy of the true militants of the African continent and save them from the commodification. Now I see billboards here in town of Mandela telling me to buy something. That is not what Mandela stood for, because they want to commodify human beings. In fact, they hate us so much when we are alive, but when we are dead, they want to commodify us.
Bring them together so they could make a pact. They could make a commitment that their independence was not enough. That if the whole continent wasn't independent, that it didn't really mean anything. So they went to work. Later that year, they pulled together a conference they called the All African Peoples Organization. Conference, All African Peoples Conference, in which they brought every force that they could see on the continent that was fighting for national liberation. People like Patrice Lumumba was there. SWAPO, the FLN who was fighting a war in Algeria. Forces from fighting even here in Kenya were there. This conference, they came together and they declared that they were going to organize their struggle across the continent until every country, every state that was under colonialization would be liberated. And today, and in 5 short years, they had liberated almost 33 countries in Africa. So African Liberation Day still has a task. It has a need to move forward, because now our continent is wrath with neo-colonial leaders that were handpicked by the West, leaders who have their allegiance to the West more than their allegiance to the
Neto. And primarily, as the Communist Party of Kenya, it is the day of Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi.
A Land and Freedom Army.
It's important for us because when we have such important days in the African continent, some people want to define our heroes for us. So today is also a day to reclaim our true heroes of the African independence. Jomo Kenyatta is a land grabber. He's not a hero. I know he is our founding father, but he sold out and was the foundation of this neo-colonial regime. And his son continues to dominate. The wealth that was grabbed from the Kenyan people is still dominated by few families. These are what yazi nyakuwa mashamba,
Nyakua.
wafanyikazi, komboa chakula,
Komboa.
wafanyikazi, pigania uhuru.
Pigania.
Thank you for watching.